You're about to hear something nobody else is breaking yet. But this could be the biggest market and geopolitical event of the year. Imagine this. The leader of a country gets captured in a covert operation, and at the exact same time, a mysterious trader makes $400,000 in profit betting on it before the world even knew it happened. That's not just news. That is a possible market manipulation and insider forecast leak explosion. Stay with me. Before we go deeper, if you want urgent and unfiltered geopolitical and market analysis, hit like and subscribe right now and turn on notifications because we are going in deep. The clock is ticking. The implications are huge. I'm reporting to you today with breaking context on how the ongoing U.S. prosecution and trial of Nicolás Maduro is supposed to work, and how that is now entangled with forecast markets, insider leaks, and massive bets that could change how financial markets operate forever. Let's break this down clearly and quickly. On one hand, black and white legal proceedings are unfolding in a U.S. federal court in New York, where Nicolás Maduro has pleaded not guilty to multiple heavy charges, including conspiracy, drugs, narcoterrorism, and weapons violations. This is a case originally unsealed years ago and has dragged on, but now it is very real because Maduro was captured and brought into U.S. jurisdiction. Under the criminal procedures for high-profile cases like this, prosecutors must prepare evidence, disclose certain classified material under special rules, and build a coherent case for a jury. Witnesses must be interviewed and documents presented, just like any federal trial. A plea deal is still possible at this stage, but right now the case is heading toward full trial. That's the legal side. Now here's where it gets explosive. In the world of prediction markets, where people bet real money on real-world events months before they happen, a trader, completely anonymous, placed a multi-thousand-dollar bet predicting Maduro would be out of power by the end of January. Just hours before the U.S. announcement of the capture, the odds surged, and that trader turned a roughly $32,000 position into over $400,000 in profit. Right away, investors, journalists, and legal experts are asking the same question. Was this just luck, or was it insider information? Because that kind of timing is suspiciously precise. Understand this. Prediction markets are far less regulated than traditional markets. There is no equivalent to the SEC closely watching trading actions. And platforms like Polymarket and Kalshi are mostly overseen by the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, an agency with a tiny staff compared to the SEC. Experts have called this situation a regulatory Wild West. On one side, huge profits are possible. On the other, there is very little transparency, very little accountability, and currently almost no enforcement. That creates a playground for inside information leaks, illegal or otherwise. Now, remember, the legal definition of insider trading typically applies to stocks and securities where a company is harmed. But are these prediction bets insider trading by law? That is not yet clear, because prediction markets done a T have strong statutory rules forbidding people with confidential information from betting. Many lawmakers want that to change. In fact, there is already talk of new legislation, like the Public Integrity and Financial Prediction Markets Act of 2026, which would prohibit government employees from using non-public information to trade on these platforms. But right now, that bill is just being introduced. So what does this mean? It means a trio of massive possibilities. Insider information could be influencing prediction market prices long before the public knows, weakening forecast integrity. Market manipulators or well-placed insiders could profit without consequence and without legal risk yet. Wall Street, crypto markets, and global traders will now start watching prediction markets as serious geopolitical signals, even though they may be manipulated. For markets, this could shift behavior dramatically. Suddenly, traders aren't just watching earnings reports or CPI numbers, they are watching covert operations, foreign policy decisions, and legal outcomes like never before. That alone is a massive change in how markets operate and forecast risk. Now, let's bring this together. People online are calling the prophet's textbook insider trading. They point to timing, account history, and sheer precision. Others say it might be luck, or that public leaks to certain media or analysts could have led to the trade without necessarily being a government insider. But what every expert agrees on is this. This changes everything about how forecasts are priced, how intelligence leaks get reflected in markets, and how legal, financial, and geopolitical risk is priced by investors worldwide. We are no longer in a world where only stocks and commodities react to breaking events. Now, bets and forecasts based on events like political trials, military operations, and international captures are moving money just as fast. Imagine if, instead of watching the news after it happens, markets could predict geopolitical moves first. That's the line we are dangerously close to crossing. And whether you like it or not, that's where the future is headed. Now, before I finish this report, take a second to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and comment below. Do you think the trader used inside information, or was it pure chance? Share your view right now. because I want to know what you think, and your comment could shape the conversation. Finally, share this video with friends or communities who care about markets, insider leaks, and forecasting integrity. The world is watching, and they need to see this analysis too. This is The Enduring Legacy, where we uncover the real forces shaping markets and geopolitics. I'll see you in the next one. When we talk about the Maduro trial, the first thing people need to understand is this. This is not a normal court case. This is the United States putting a sitting or recently removed foreign leader on trial under federal criminal law. That alone makes this case historic. The charges against Nicolás Maduro were first announced years ago, sealed quietly, and then slowly built in the background. Now that he is physically in U.S. custody, the legal machine has fully turned on. Here's how it's supposed to work. The trial will take place in a U.S. federal court, most likely in New York, under standard criminal procedure. Prosecutors must present evidence to a jury showing that Maduro knowingly participated in drug trafficking operations, worked with armed groups, and used state power to protect criminal networks. They will rely on documents, intercepted communications, financial records, and most importantly, witness testimony, including former insiders who once worked inside the Venezuelan government. Maduro's legal team will do the opposite. They will argue this is a politically motivated case, that the U.S. has no jurisdiction, and that witnesses are unreliable or pressured. Every piece of evidence will be challenged. Every witness will be attacked. This back and forth is expected to take months, not weeks. High-profile international trials move slowly because every step is contested. There is also another key detail most people miss. Classified intelligence cannot simply be dumped into court. The government must carefully decide what can be revealed without damaging national security. That means parts of this trial may happen behind closed doors, with redactions, delays, and sealed filings. And that secrecy is exactly why information leaks become so powerful. This is where things start to matter far beyond the courtroom. When only a small group of officials, lawyers, and intelligence analysts know what is really happening, any leak, intentional or accidental, becomes valuable, not just politically, but financially. Because markets don't wait for verdicts. They move on expectations. And that's why understanding how this trial works is critical. Because the moment outcomes start becoming predictable inside closed rooms, someone, somewhere, may already be betting on it. The charges against Nicolás Maduro are not just legal accusations. They are geopolitical weapons. The U.S. is accusing him of leading a criminal enterprise that used drugs, violence, and corruption as tools of power. Prosecutors say this was not random crime. It was organized, protected, and directed from the top. If the jury accepts that argument, this trial becomes more than a conviction. It becomes a global statement. One of the most serious accusations is that Maduro used drug trafficking as leverage against the United States itself. That framing matters because it turns this case from corruption into national security. And once a case enters national security territory, the rules change. This is why other governments are watching closely. Allies want to know if the U.S. is setting a precedent that former or sitting leaders can be arrested, tried, and punished in American courts. Rivals want to know if they could be next. This trial sends a signal far beyond Venezuela. It tells the world that political power may no longer guarantee protection. Inside Venezuela, the impact is just as serious. Markets react to fear and uncertainty, and leadership trials create both. Currency pressure, capital flight, and internal instability often follow. Even rumors from a courtroom thousands of miles away can shake an economy. That's why investors, hedge funds, and even intelligence-linked analysts are tracking every development in real time. Now connect this back to the markets. When geopolitical risk rises, money moves early, not after verdicts, not after headlines. It moves when insiders begin to sense direction, when diplomats adjust tone, when lawyers prepare arguments. Those signals don't reach the public equally. Some people see them first, and this is the moment where law, power, and money collide. Because if the outcome of this trial starts to feel inevitable behind closed doors, then the market doesn't wait for justice. It prices the future before the world hears the verdict. The charges against Nicolás Maduro are not just legal accusations. They are geopolitical weapons. The U.S. is accusing him of leading a criminal enterprise that used drugs, violence, and corruption as tools of power. Prosecutors say this was not random crime. It was organized, protected, and directed from the top. If the jury accepts that argument, this trial becomes more than a conviction. It becomes a global statement. One of the most serious accusations is that Maduro used drug trafficking as leverage against the United States itself. That framing matters because it turns this case from corruption into national security. And once a case enters national security territory, the rules change. This is why other governments are watching closely. Allies want to know if the U.S. is setting a precedent that former or sitting leaders can be arrested, tried, and punished in American courts. Rivals want to know if they could be next. This trial sends a signal far beyond Venezuela. It tells the world that political power may no longer guarantee protection. Inside Venezuela, the impact is just as serious. Markets react to fear and uncertainty, and leadership trials create both. Currency pressure, capital flight, and internal instability often follow. Even rumors from a courtroom thousands of miles away can shake an economy. That's why investors, hedge funds, and even intelligence-linked analysts are tracking every development in real time. Now connect this back to the markets. When geopolitical risk rises, money moves early, not after verdicts, not after headlines. It moves when insiders begin to sense direction, when diplomats adjust tone, when lawyers prepare arguments. Those signals don't reach the public equally. Some people see them first. And this is the moment where law, power, and money collide. Because if the outcome of this trial starts to feel inevitable behind closed doors, then the market doesn't wait for justice. It prices the future before the world hears the verdict. Now let's talk about the trade that set off alarms across the internet, because this is where theory turns into something very real. An anonymous trader placed a large bet on a prediction market saying that Nicolás Maduro would be removed from power or captured by the end of January. At the time, this looked risky. Publicly, there was no confirmation, no official statements, no breaking news, just silence. Then something strange happened. The odds suddenly shifted. Not slowly, not naturally. They jumped. That only happens when serious money enters the market. Someone wasn't guessing. Someone was confident. Very confident. Within hours, the news broke. Maduro was in U.S. custody. The market exploded. That one position, originally worth tens of thousands of dollars, was suddenly valued at over $400,000. Just like that. No press conference, no warning, just perfect timing. People immediately started asking questions. How could someone know? Why risk so much money unless the outcome felt certain? This wasn't a casual bet. This was a calculated move. The size, the timing, the confidence, all of it suggested access to information the public didn't have. To be clear, no one has proven wrongdoing yet. The trader's identity is still unknown, but the pattern looks familiar to anyone who has ever studied insider trading cases. Big position, narrow window, immediate payoff. That combination almost never happens by accident. What makes this even more troubling is that nothing about this trade was technically illegal. Prediction markets don't have strict insider rules. There's no clear law stopping someone with private knowledge from placing a bet. And that's the loophole that scares regulators. Because if this trade was based on leaked information, it means classified or sensitive knowledge is now being monetized in real time. Not through stocks, not through traditional markets, but through platforms designed to predict the future. And once that door is open, it's very hard to close. The biggest danger isn't just one trader making money. It's what comes next. If insiders believe they can profit quietly without consequences, prediction markets become magnets for leaks. Information doesn't stay secret, it gets priced. And when information gets priced, power shifts. So the question everyone is now asking is simple, but the answer is not. Was this insider trading, or was it completely legal? In traditional financial markets, this would already be under investigation. If someone used non-public information to make a stock trade, regulators would step in immediately. But prediction markets don't follow those same rules. Right now, there's no clear law that says a government insider cannot place a bet on a future event using private knowledge. That sounds unbelievable, but it's true. These markets were never designed for this level of political and legal impact. They grew faster than the rules that govern them. This creates a dangerous gap. People with access to sensitive information can technically profit without breaking the law. And even worse, it's extremely difficult to prove intent. You would need to show not only that someone had inside information, but that they knowingly used it to place a bet. That's a very high bar. Regulators are aware of the problem. Some lawmakers are already talking about new restrictions. Proposals include banning government employees from trading on prediction markets, forcing platforms to track large trades more closely, and requiring disclosure of suspicious activity. But these ideas are still being debated. Nothing has changed yet. Until rules catch up, these markets remain exposed. And that means the next case could be even bigger. Another arrest, another trial, another military operation, another perfectly timed trade. This is why the Maduro situation matters so much. It's not just about one leader or one bet. It's a stress test. It shows what happens when global power, secret information, and money collide in a system with no guardrails. The future of forecasting may already be compromised, and once trust is gone, it's almost impossible to restore. What happens next will matter more than most people realize, because this story is not ending with one trial, one trade, or one headline. It is exposing a system that is quietly shaping the future before the public ever gets a chance to react. When markets begin to move on secrets instead of facts, trust disappears. And when trust disappears, power concentrates in the hands of those closest to information. The Maduro trial may look like a courtroom drama, but it's actually a warning signal, a sign that prediction markets, intelligence leaks, and global finance are starting to overlap in ways no one fully controls. If this can happen once, it can happen again, and next time, the stakes could be even higher. This is the moment people need to pay attention, not after the verdict, not after the profits are made, But now, while the rules are still unclear and the system is still exposed, now I want to hear from you. Do you believe this trade was based on insider information, or do you think it was pure coincidence? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your perspective matters, and this conversation needs to happen in the open. And if you found this breakdown valuable, share this video with someone who follows markets, politics, or global power. The more people understand what's really happening, the harder it becomes to hide it. This is the enduring legacy. Stay informed, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one.